Hello everyone, welcome to Monte Carlo, one final time for practice. Practice 3 is upon us and we'll be starting within the next 5 minutes or so. Of course, we've got another session later on today for qualifying, but for now we continue with the practice sessions to get that data ready to go as fast as we can for the most important session of the weekend, qualifying later on. Yes, it's Monaco, it's hard to overtake, so they have to get it right in qualifying. It's a tricky feat, but we saw some good running yesterday. We saw a couple of red flags as well, 3. That was one collision with Lance Stroll, another with Isaac Hadjar having damage, and I can't remember the other one, if it was maybe another collision for Isaac Hadjar. I can't quite remember the other red flag, but I know that there was definitely 3. But talking about red flags, after one was deployed, Oliver Behrman overtook going into La Rascasse, and that meant they ended up getting themselves a 10-plate grid penalty and 2 penalty points. A huge penalty to have around Monaco. They're going to have to qualify within the top 10 to not start dead last, which is a real shame for Oliver Behrman. It's harsh. It is what it is, and they can't do anything about it. They shouldn't have done what they did. It was unfortunate, I guess you could say, but it is what it is, and we will continue with the weekend, so will they, and just try and enjoy their first Monaco Grand Prix. Try and get some good data in, maybe for future races this season, but also of course for next year when we try and do it all again and not make that same mistake. Of course, later on we will see you for qualifying, 2:45 p.m. British time, that is 3:45 p.m. local time in Monaco, starting 15 minutes early just before the session begins, as we have done so today. I do wonder, what tyres are we going to be running today for most of the session? Are we going to see a mix as we did in FP2? Are we going to see maybe a little bit more of a slide towards one tyre as we saw in FP1? Well, I don't know. I think we're going to see a mix. We saw Charles Leclerc do a practice start on a hard tyre, which was very interesting. That was for FP2 in the evening, and that would suggest that maybe they are hoping to start on that tyre. But I think maybe they were just trying to do practice starts on all different tyres, so it could be that we see Charles Leclerc go for a different tyre once again to do that final few minutes practice starts at the end. The flag actually falls, and then you do an extra lap and you're allowed to go to the start grid and then go around again to get back to the pit lane. It's not long now until we get out on track, and we will see what the cars can do. How did we leave it yesterday? Well, it was Charles Leclerc on top, and it was Charles Leclerc on top for both sessions as well. Absolutely rapid here in Monaco. Despite saying that they're not confident, everybody else has said that they think the Ferraris look good, and Lewis Hamilton has said that they are confident as well. It was Oscar Piastri in P2. I want to say actually Charles Leclerc's lap time, a 1:11.355. Oscar Piastri in P2, under half a second away. A tenth away, though, was Lewis Hamilton, his teammate. Lando Norris then in P4. It was Liam Lawson with Isaac Hadjar, the two Racing Bulls having a great session. Fernando Alonso up in P7. It's Alex Albon, Kimi Antonelli ahead of his teammate George Russell. It's Max Verstappen in P10. Yuki Tsunoda, then George Russell. Then it's Carlos Sainz, Gabriel Bortoleto, Oliver Behrman with that grid penalty, Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll in P18 after having to do basically all of their running from missing FP1 due to a crash of Charles Leclerc, Esteban Ocon in P19 and Franco Colapinto for their first race at Monaco, their second race with Alpine at the back of the pack. By a bit of a margin as well, about 8.5 tenths more or less. But to Lance Stroll, why they missed FP1 because of the crash of Leclerc, the collision was done with the rear of the car, so that meant that they had to go into the pit lane and there was some gearbox damage that they had to get repaired, which is a shame, and they just had to try and make sure they made up for that in the FP2 session. So Lance Stroll definitely on the back foot this weekend. Doesn't mean that they can't do a good job as they did do last weekend in qualifying. Of course, their race, and so Fernando Alonso's as well, was pretty badly destroyed by the timings of the safety cars. Just going to try and do some changes to the live stream. As I try and sync everything up with the data that I've got on my screen. We're seeing a lot of cars immediately into the pit lane, interestingly. Purple in the middle sector there for Liam Lawson. And now we try and sync everything up. Welcome to the stream. If you've just joined, 58 minutes on the clock, and a lot of cars just going straight back into the pit lane as they get their car ready to go. Alrighty, quite frustrating. Unfortunately, the timing didn't work. Having some technical difficulties. For now on the screen that you can see, there's nothing wrong with that, so that's all good. Everything's perfect there. It's just from my end that we're missing out a little bit. But not significantly. Lots of cars coming back out on track. Well, I say that, Lawson's come back out on track. Just trying to get everything synced up. But we should be good to go. Then we can talk through what we talked through yesterday, just in case you missed it, with things like upgrades, which actually I managed to get some more details on. I'm very surprised about a few things as well. So really interesting stuff to look through, and I can't wait. It's once again synced itself horribly. It is what it is. We're just going to have to deal with it now. But oh well, it happens. Now, what I wanted to talk about with some of the things that we talked about yesterday, well, upgrades. I got some more information. There was a few teams that I thought they didn't have that many upgrades. There's a few teams that I thought they had certain upgrades, but they didn't have others. But actually, Red Bull have also a few front wing tweaks, along with their small upgrade package of a rear wing change. They also have massive brake ducts compared to last year. Absolutely huge. If you can go and see them online, they're pretty impressive. So they're really trying to do something with that one. We've actually also got Sauber. They've got a 3D printed metal brake duct as well, which is pretty impressive. But then if we go to the other teams, well, looking at Ferrari, but also Williams, they're using the old 2024 rear wing. So that's also something to look out for. That's the cost cap kind of strategy to try and save some money. It's a very complicated business with the cost cap. I tell you that. I'm not going to go into it now. It can get very, very confusing, even for those that do work in Formula One. And then, of course, I wanted to say about Williams. They've also brought their 2024 rear wing, but they've also got quite a few 2024 parts or Monaco spec parts on their car. So they're really trying to make sure that they save money under the cost cap and make sure that they kind of keep everything for different areas. What they will use that for, I don't know, and I cannot comment because no one knows. Set from Williams themselves. Now, something really interesting with that 2024 wing that they are running, that rear wing is absolutely insane on the Williams. The kind of bed of the wing, the bottom panel is just huge. It's just a massive plate, basically, a tray, if you like. It's yeah, pretty spectacular. If you can once again go and see an image of that online, it's quite something to look at. Now we've got a couple of lap times set. Colapinto and Lawson so far the only ones. A lot of cars staying in the pit lane at the moment for whatever reason. We're seeing a mix of tyres fitted to the cars. We've seen not much running though, so we can't really compare. Only the soft tyres have actually set lap times so far. We do have, of course, 3 cars out on track as of now. That's going to probably change very, very shortly. Yes, it is. There you go. As we see the Sauber of Hülkenberg on their way out. Also Bortoletto, the 2 teammates following each other. And they've got some good clearance up ahead, some good clean air in front of them to give themselves a pretty good run here in FP3. The morning of Friday, well, actually the afternoon if you're in local time, just after midday. We are 7 minutes into the session, a little bit over. And we're waiting for a few more cars to set some lap times. And then we can really see what's going to go on. The question is who can win the Monaco Grand Prix, aka who can get pole position and start first. Well, Charles Leclerc was looking very quick yesterday, despite stating that they don't have confidence. And I think everybody is feeling the same way. We all do believe that Charles Leclerc is going to have a very good chance. And they shouldn't be doubting themselves. And even if they were doubting themselves yesterday, they don't have an excuse today because they've shown their pace on track already. Now, to someone else who's very, very quick around this circuit, 2 wins to their name, looking for a third. It's Max Verstappen, the reigning champion. They have had a pretty messy FP2. Their FP1, they went second fastest, so they were really working quite well. But then later on, I think they were P9, 10, I think they're P10 actually, with Yuki Tsunoda directly behind them regardless of where they were. So it's an interesting one. The two Rebels were at least close, but that's not good news for Max Verstappen because you don't want to be in that position. You want to be fighting for the top positions, as they did, of course, in Imola, and won that race as they led into turn 1. Ultimately, that's going to be exactly the same philosophy. Not only do you need a good qualifying here, but if you can lead into turn 1 at Monaco, then you will probably win the Grand Prix. Now, we do see a little bit more of a change in the strategy and possibly a bit of a mix-up in the order with the new mandatory pit stop rule set by Pirelli. It's going to be very, very interesting to see, and I can't wait for it to come around on Sunday. Is it just going to make the race completely boring and very straightforward for all the teams? Are they going to be a little bit more mixed up, and is there going to be some more chaos in the pit lane? Or are we going to see just more aggressive driving as the tyres can be pushed? They don't have to go as long as we saw in 2024, where all the cars basically just sat behind each other and drove to the end of the Grand Prix. We don't know, is the honest answer. We just have to wait and see. And I'm really done with waiting. I want the race to happen, to be honest. But first, we need to get qualifying done and we need to get practice out the way. Qualifying is going to be awesome. We will be covering qualifying later on, starting the stream 15 minutes before. That'll be 2:45 British time, 3:45 European time. We won't be covering the race session, however. We'll just let ourselves watch that one in anticipation. It's going to be very, very, very good to watch. One of the most special races that you can watch in Formula One, effectively. Even though it can have its downsides, if you can just really get into the mood, get into the swing of Monaco, you can enjoy watching it. It can be very, very intense, even if you think that the race result is going to be the race result from lap 1 all the way throughout. Yeah. Last year, actually, as well, was very, very special. Really, really good to watch the final couple of laps as we saw Charles Leclerc take victory at the home circuit after having pressure from behind throughout the entire race. They said that they were tearing up in the final lap, or the final few laps, and the emotion was incredibly high and spectacular to do what they did. The first driver to win the home Grand Prix in something like 90 something years, maybe 91, was it 91 years? I'm not entirely sure, but I do know the first race in Monaco was held in 1929. So it was a couple of years into that, maybe 2 or 3 years into that. So, yeah. I'm not going to do the math now. I'll just make myself look silly, or I'll end up pausing for a long time on the stream. Currently, Hülkenberg leads the way with a 13.916 that they've just set. We've got Lawson, Hadjar following each other. Lawson seems to be the one that is quickest out of the two over the last couple of laps, and of course in yesterday's session. That being said, Hadjar did have 2 collisions with the wall and still managed to keep the confidence to go again. They say that they've got some good memories around this circuit. In the junior formula, they've raced 3 times, according to their records. And, yeah, they enjoy it. And they should, according to their confidence, do quite well. I'm looking forward to see what they can do. I hope that they can make sure that they don't have any more collisions with the barrier. And right now, as they go purple in the first and second sector and right behind Nico Hülkenberg, they are finding some good form. Lewis Hamilton out on track, setting a 19.4 in the first sector. Not too far away from where we see Bortoleto, and he's not massively quick compared to Bortoleto in that middle sector either. So looking to go a bit quicker. It's a 19.553 from Bortoleto in the final sector as Hamilton will cross the line. And that's to P2. They do have a little bit more of an advantage just about there. And overall, the lap was pretty good, but not good enough to get the teammate of Bortoleto, Nico Hülkenberg, who still tops the times and on the medium tyre. Now, that is a scrub tyre there for Lewis Hamilton, but still a soft tyre nonetheless. I don't know how many laps that would have had. We had quite a few laps for quite a few drivers on a few tyres yesterday. We did also see a few drivers get on some fresh tyres towards the end of the session as well, so that could be the tyre that we're looking at there for Lewis Hamilton. That's a complete guess. I'm not entirely sure if it is the truth, but something that is good to see is Charles Leclerc out on track on some fresh soft tyres. Currently not really going too quick. Purple middle sector though for Liam Lawson. Charles Leclerc really needs to try and get a move on here if they want to bring the pace up. That's a yellow flag though, as we see. Sauber in the wall. Hülkenberg at the final corner having an issue. So that's Nico Hülkenberg there going deep into the corner at the final corner. They managed to avoid the wall. Maybe just a slip of the pedal or something, but yeah. Not finding the brakes until late on. They do avoid the barrier, which is good. We see the Williams leave the pit lane now. We see everybody leave the pit lane except from Alonso, who came out earlier on, and Antonelli and Russell, who haven't set a single lap. We've got Lance Stroll going purple in the middle sector. We've got Hamilton going purple in the first sector. Lots of improvements going about. Hajar, of course, earlier on did beat Liam Lawson's lap time. I just wanted to point that out now. Hülkenberg, who had that little moment in the final corner, now goes again to complete another lap, but they now lose their top time to Lance Stroll, who's managed to do a very good job. But it's Lando Norris who's going to beat that middle sector. It's Lewis Hamilton who goes to the top of the times, marginally in front of Lance Stroll, half a second ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Colapinto goes to P7. Lots of cars going around the circuit very, very quickly. Charles Leclerc has set an absolute monster of a first sector. There's Lando Norris. Is Charles Leclerc going to get a purple middle sector ahead as well? I don't know, but it looks like they could do so. Across the sector line, what can they do? For Charles Leclerc going through the tunnel section now into the hairpin of turn 10 and 11. We're still waiting for the sector to come up on the screen. There it is, 34.4, which is pretty good going as well. Not purple, but still very fast. The final sector is coming up. Will they be able to beat Lando Norris's time? Verstappen to P2 as they improve on the medium tyre. Charles Leclerc on the soft across the line, and it is going to be topped by 2.5 seconds. Tenths. Wow. Absolutely incredible there for Charles Leclerc. A brilliant, brilliant lap. Lando Norris was also on that soft tyre. Max Verstappen's done a very good job to get that medium tyre working and in a good position. Now, we just want to have a quick look at mention about the tyre situation, the tyre allocation. Last week we saw the C4, C5 and C6 tyre come along and join us in Imola. We see it return for Monaco. The teams struggled a little bit with that C6 tyre, the softest compound. Now they're managing to make it work a lot better. Whether that's the circuit or the data that they have, I don't know. I think it's a combination of both. And the soft is definitely the quicker tyre, but the medium can still go very fast. Purple first sector there for Lance Stroll, who has gone 2 or 1.5 tenths quicker than Charles Leclerc. We can definitely go a lot quicker than the lap times that we've been setting right now, so I don't think that's a surprise to see the lap times improving this much. Lawson loses his car in the swimming pool section, mark my words, 17 minutes and 23 seconds from now. Well, there was a slight delay on the message that you sent and when I received it, and when you're now listening to me reading it out. I didn't read it immediately after it was sent, but Frantic, I will try and keep an eye out for that. I'm going to consider it basically 15 minutes from now, so 12:05 British time, 1:05 local time for Monaco. Let's see. Let's see. I hope for Lawson's sake that doesn't happen, but Frantic, you'll look like a legend if that does come true. Swimming pool section, very easy to get it wrong. We saw Hamilton completely launch their car over the curb yesterday, and they were very lucky to not go into the barrier and ruin their day. Everyone is out on track at the moment, pushing the car to the limit. Alrighty. Hamilton involved in a little bit of blocking there. For now, if it wasn't dangerous, then they'll be all good to go. But we have seen a few drivers get some penalties for a bit of blocking. Well, I say a few drivers. We saw Lance Stroll, of course, blocking Charles Leclerc and causing a collision. So that's why they ended up getting that penalty. Hamilton across the line. Charles Leclerc going purple though. Hamilton to P2. Lando Norris has since set the fastest lap time of the session, the 12.347. Charles Leclerc absolutely rapid now in that first sector as they go into the swimming pool section. Getting nice and close to the barrier, hitting the curves well, not to launch themselves into the exit barrier. Final corners upon them, and they will make the run to the line with a bit of DRS to help them in the end, and they do go to the top of the times. They don't go purple in the middle and final sector though, 1.5 tenths ahead of Lando Norris in the McLaren car. Now, I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to look for something. I'm now not looking for it because I'm going to try and see if I can figure out what I was looking for and then let you know. An 18.9 for Lando Norris in the final sector, as they have just gone and set a faster lap time again. from Charles Leclerc. George Russell up to P3. They had a difficult session yesterday in FP2. They didn't get on with the car very well on last week's race in Imola throughout the entire weekend. They were quite frustrated, and they didn't finish where they were kind of finishing throughout the season so far. The old podium here and there. They're now going to try and find a podium, but yeah, it's going to be a very difficult job for George Russell. Max Verstappen sets an absolute master of a lap time, goes 1.5 tenths ahead of Lando Norris and on the medium tyre as well. Piastri to P4. Not massively impressive. Tsunoda has been noted for impeding, and they are going to be in a little bit of trouble with that one. That's what I was going to look for. The session lap times of yesterday's practice session. Well, 11.964 is the fastest time. So we've just beaten that with Max Verstappen for FP1. FP2 we did an 11.355. So we still got a long way to go to get those lap times. That was from Charles Leclerc, then Oscar Piastri, who was shortly behind Lewis Hamilton in P3. The Ferraris are looking quick. No matter what they tell you, they are looking quick. So that's Yuki Tsunoda blocking Isaac Hadjar in the tunnel section. Isaac managed to react very, very well. A bit of deja vu from that famous video that they had in F2 as they move out the way and react incredibly quickly to another car. Once again, proving they do like this circuit. Bortoleto hits the wall very slightly as they go through to the casino section. In a little bit of trouble. Got to make sure that they don't do that too many times. That's a yellow flag. Not entirely sure where that is on the track. It's immediately green flag. Sector 3, someone had a bit of an issue. That's Lando Norris maybe going slowly. I don't quite know. I think it must have been Norris having a bit of a moment. Verstappen is about to cross the line. They were going purple in the middle sector. Charles Leclerc's beaten them. They do improve their lap time. 4 tenths ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, who has managed to set a decent lap to P2. That's more like it. Well, I say that. They are still 4 tenths away from their teammate. Hamilton splits the 2. Almost dead in the middle. But it's Charles Leclerc who takes it all away by just over a tenth of a second. Purple first and final sector. Still beaten by Max Verstappen in the middle sector by a hell of a margin. Absolutely mental margins right there. That medium tyre is looking pretty good. However, that soft tyre, for a soft tyre, is looking a little bit older. 31 minutes on the clock, just under 32 minutes. We're on 11.532. We've still got a little bit more to go until we do reach the 3.55 that we saw yesterday. And we look to try and beat that, ready to go into qualifying, which we'll see, hopefully, even quicker lap times. Esteban Ocon being blocked by another car as they continue. Haas woes really not having a good time in recent races. Of course, Oliver Behrman was knocked out of Q2 and missed out on Q3, or was that Q1, sorry, knocked out of Q1, missed out on Q2 for Imola after they were incorrectly kind of had their time deleted, and it didn't go through, so pretty unfair there for Oliver Behrman. And then they've ended up being involved in a red flag incident, overtaking another car in FP2 under red flags. They've now got a 10-place grid penalty at one circuit that you really don't want to have any grid penalty. So, yeah. Haas, struggling. Really having a difficult kind of second phase to the beginning of the season. The first few races, they had an absolutely brilliant start, scoring some points here and there. And they're getting a good base, but since then it just completely has gone downhill. Lots of cars continuing. It's Max Verstappen who goes faster in the first sector. We've got 3 drivers currently in the 11-second lap time margins. And Charles Leclerc is leaving the pit lane. Here we go, Max Verstappen. What margin can they get? What's their final lap time here on the medium tyre? They continue to improve. They continue to push. DRS open. Across the line for the Dutchman. It's going to be a P1. It's going to be an 11.233. And we have officially beaten the laps that we saw yesterday. So we are going pretty quickly here. In the hands of Max Verstappen. 11.369 was the lap time we saw from Charles Leclerc in FP3 last year. So very, very close. And 11.278 for Charles Leclerc in FP2. So actually quicker in FP2 than FP3. In qualifying, we saw a 10.2. We saw an 11.5 actually 11.492 for George Russell in Q1. I'm not entirely sure if that was the fastest, but it looked pretty much as it was the quickest in Q1. Q2 we saw a 10.756 or 732. That was from Lando Norris. And then we saw a 10.270 be the fastest time overall for Charles Leclerc in the final session of qualifying to start the race on pole position. So 10.2 is the fastest lap time that we've had in last year's Grand Prix weekend. Franco Colapinto brushes the barriers on the exit of the swimming pool section. Really making it quite difficult. Now, if we look at the comment that Frantic made earlier on in the chat, we've got a couple of minutes until they have suggested that Liam Lawson will be colliding with the barrier at the swimming pool section and causing a red flag. Well, actually, they didn't say that they cause a red flag, but I assume they would if they do such things. Lando Norris frustrated as they've just been blocked by Lance Stroll. It's just one of them things around Monaco. As long as it's not dangerous, you're not going to get a penalty. Until it gets to qualifying, then you could get yourself a penalty. And that is going to be the danger of Monaco and the strategy in qualifying that the teams will have to try and work around. Purple final sector there for Charles Leclerc. But Max Verstappen is really finding the pace here. Really getting the car nailed in. From FP2 to FP3, they've made a brilliant, brilliant leaps. And I think they're going to be very happy with the car that they've got under them. Now, Liam Lawson is currently out on track as we get to 12:05 or 1:05 is your local time. And they are about to get to the swimming pool section, so according to Frantic's suspicions, Liam Lawson will be in the barrier. That being said, they are on a slow lap, so to see them go into the barrier at this position would be absolutely incredible. They go past the chicane, and I don't think we see a yellow flag. So Liam Lawson has managed to escape the speculation, and they will not be in the barrier. So unlucky for Frantic. The New Zealander has done it. They've managed to avoid it. They stay out on track though, so they're not fully safe from what's going on. We'll see if they're improving in the first sector, shall we? We'll see if they are going to push the car a bit. Now they are pushing the car. So it's not over yet, but I think if they don't do it this lap, then we're not going to see it again. Liam Lawson into the back, coming through the first chicane of the swimming pool section and into the second one. And they're going very, very fast, but they're also safe. And they will not be in the wall. I do hope that Frantic doesn't go into the fortune-telling business in the future. Although they dared to make the assumption bravely, it didn't come true. Oh, he actually did hit the wall. Oh no, he didn't hit the wall. He didn't hit the wall. He didn't hit the wall. He was very, very close. He was pushing the limits. Maybe in the other multiverses, they were in the barrier, but for this universe that we're in right now, or multiverse, I don't know what the technical terms are, we do not see a racing bull with 3 wheels. "22 minutes on the clock, and we have got a hell of a mix on our hands at the moment. Verstappen tops the times, 2 tenths ahead of Charles Leclerc. It's Lando Norris in P3. It's Lewis Hamilton in P4. It's Alex Albon, Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Kimi Antonelli, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, Gasly, Hadjar, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Bortoletto, Behrman, and Colapinto at the back of the pack, who isn't too far away from Oliver Behrman, but they are still 2.3 seconds away from Max Verstappen, who's been a bit of a monster here. 3 rookies at the back of the field here in Monaco. Not surprised. It's a very tricky circuit to drive at, so they can't be too disappointed. And then we've got Ocon, but followed by 2 other drivers that are doing their first Formula 1 race here at Monaco as well, Hadjar and Lawson. That's an improvement there for Nico Hulkenberg, who goes to P7. Colapinto leaves the pit lane to try and come out again and improve some better lap times. Or improve on some better lap times. Alex Albon all sideways at the final corner, all over the curb. Just setting lap times at the moment because they can. They did actually go faster than their best in that final sector. I say they're setting lap times because they can. They're actually on fresh soft tyres. So are they going to go again quickly? Well, they look like they're travelling pretty slowly out on track. So they're going to have to try and go again. They went fairly fast in that first sector, not ahead of their best though. The final sector, the only one that they did actually improve at. Charles Leclerc's about to leave the pit lane as well and go for an improvement lap. Alex Albon, a 38.5. They are travelling a lot slower here now. Yuki Tsunoda, who also leaves the pit lane on some fresh soft tyres. With 19 minutes to go, a lot of teams are doing the same thing. Putting on some fresh rubber and getting ready to go quickly. Verstappen following suit. Let's see how it can go, shall we? At 11.233, will we get close to the qualifying lap times of last year? That was a 10.2, so we've got to basically get just under a second, which would be a big achievement if they could, but I don't know if it's worth the risk. Alex Albon is really pushing the limits here. Incredibly close to the wall at the first corner. Yeah, that is true, Frantic. That is true. Pretty impressive that he was out on track during that time. I'm sure if it was a different universe, then we would have seen such a case. An 18.5 here for Verstappen in the first sector ahead of Albon, an 18.675, who's once again on a push lap. A 33.998 for Albon in the middle sector. What can Verstappen do as they are about to cross that sector line as well? Across it they go for Max Verstappen. A 33.8. So still faster than Alex Albon, who goes to P4, but not faster than their best. And across the line for Max Verstappen as they go up the final corner just first. What's it going to be for the Dutchman, who looks to try and improve on their current fastest time? They don't improve in the end. They get incredibly close. They do improve in their final sector compared to their best though. And they do go faster than Albon, just by a small margin as well. Really rapid there for Max Verstappen in the first sector. And you know what? You know what? If Charles Leclerc doesn't get it right, I reckon he's going to get pole. I thought after FP1 we're going to see Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc on their own, shootout for qualifying. I didn't think we'd see the McLarens. I think they'd at least get one of them on the podium, if not both. But I thought we were going to see an absolute masterful battle between Verstappen and Leclerc. FP2, I thought that was complete bonkers and I was completely wrong. Now the hype train begins again in FP3 with 16 minutes on the clock. And we could see it all happen. Welcome back 2019. Those are the first days where we saw Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen fight it out in Formula 1 to really give us a preview of the future. We saw it in 2022 again. We're now hoping to see it once more. One of the best rivalries that have never really lasted that long in Formula 1, but it has been going on in junior categories and karting for years. Liam Lawson pushing the car as they go out the final corner. What's it going to be? Yuki Tsunoda complaining about, I think, instability, I believe. Lawson did improve there, but only P17 compared to his teammate. P12 at the moment. 12.363, a 12.848, so not massively far apart, but not very close together either. Everybody that's out on track right now are on the soft tyres. That's immediately changed as Fernando Alonso leaves the pit lane on the medium. Verstappen complaining about sliding and a lack of grip. Lando Norris very close to the wall on the exit of the first corner, as the car twitched a lot. Looking to try and find the form once again, as they're currently sitting P2 in the championship. A fair few points behind their teammate. About 13 points behind their teammate, as they did make some progress from Imola. Oscar Piastri of 146, 133 for Lando Norris, but only 124 from Max Verstappen, who's 9 points away from Lando Norris, really in the championship battle here. George Russell, 99 points. There was, a couple of races ago, a possibility that they could have won the Grand Prix and then been in the lead of the championship, but that's slipping away, and I don't think we're going to see such a feat. Charles Leclerc looking to try and take what could be their best chance at a victory this season. We saw Ferrari be very quick towards the end, or mid part to the end of last year. And then going into 2025, we thought that they were going to be the team to beat. Maybe McLaren would have the advantage, but it would be probably Ferrari that had some favourability, in my opinion. It completely didn't go that way, and McLaren had the advantage in the first couple of races. Of course, Oscar Piastri getting quite a few wins, Lando Norris taking victory in Australia, and of course pole position there. But it's now a mix of things, and it's Max Verstappen who's taken, I think, 2 victories and 3 pole positions, if I'm correct in saying. Of course, that brilliant drive in Japan was the first. DRS and slipstream here for Alex Albon across the line. What's it going to be? They don't improve on their previous best, but they get so close to it. They are putting some consistent lap times in at the moment. It's Max Verstappen who leads the way. Lots of cars on some pretty new soft tyres at the moment. Not looking to improve massively, but some are doing so at least. It's Verstappen who leads the way with an 11.233. Leclerc, Norris, Albon and Hamilton finishes the top 5. Behrman up to P13, who's really trying to maximise the pace of this car. They've had some qualifying difficulties throughout the season. They did manage to get a good lap in until it was deleted unfairly, realistically, in Imola, of course. Haas really want to try and find some momentum, and Behrman, of course, with that 10-place grid penalty after overtaking under red flags, needs to find themselves in the top 10 here for qualifying. Otherwise, they're going to start dead last. Everyone out on track at the moment is very busy. It's going to be very intense. There could be some blocking. There could be some drama. There could be some debris. Bortoletto sweeps past the traffic as they come out the final corner. Past Stroll. DRS available now. What's it going to be here as they improve? Not in the middle sector, but the first sector they do so. And they do improve. They stay where they are, however. Lando Norris improving in the first 2 sectors. The final sector's coming up. Really quite quick, but not green anywhere. An 11.479 for Lando in the end. Well, I say that that's their fastest lap time, a 4.90 for Lando there. So very close, but not enough. Antonelli improving in the first sector, still a way off compared to the rest of the field that is going quickly. Actually slower than Fernando Alonso in the first sector, who's on the medium tyre. Russell goes to P9. Over the curbs there for Antonelli as they go through the swimming pool chicane. A little bit of instability. There's some hesitation there to try and get the car going again, but they still went quickly and they still have beaten George Russell. 7 tenths, almost 8 tenths away from Max Verstappen. Half a tenth away from Yuki Tsunoda and half a tenth ahead of George Russell, their teammate. Mercedes really not having a good weekend so far. Really seeming to struggle here. They have been pretty good here, Mercedes, in the past. Of course, winning with Hamilton a few times, winning with Nico Rosberg 3 times in a row. And getting pole position with Michael Schumacher in 2012, I believe it was. Oscar Piastri to P2, purple middle sector 33.770, but not enough in the first and final. 1.5 tenths just over behind Max Verstappen right now. Charles Leclerc 2 tenths away from Verstappen's best time. Is the hype as much as we thought it was, or is the true pace of all the cars really coming together now? Well, that second statement is the more likely truth, but it's all about that qualifying hour where all the cars can bring it all together, really link up the lap. You want to try and get the perfect sectors all in one lap. It's easy to get them, I say that, it's easier to get them throughout multiple laps, but when you want to try and chain it together, that's where pole position comes, and that's where Charles Leclerc does come alive. Alonso to P11, who does improve, the only car out on track that has a medium tyre on. Everybody out on track except from Yuki Tsunoda, who has just gone into the pit lane. Lawson P7, and then it's Russell who's complaining on the radio about running out of ideas. They're not finding the pace, they're really struggling. They're just hoping that they can qualify all right. And of course, if they qualify directly behind their teammate, then they can do some strategy plays with the two teams, but we'll see how that takes place on Sunday. Charles Leclerc does go fastest, so the hype is back up by half a tenth. Very much so. Not so fast in the first sector, but very, very quick in the middle and third on a 7-lap-old scrub tyre. 23 laps in the session right now for the Monaco driver. It's 30 laps for Liam Lawson, who has definitely been doing the most running. 28 for Hadjar. Racing Bull's really working it well. Colapinto, despite being at the back of the pack by 2.5 tenths, has done also 30 laps. So struggling there for Colapinto, but trying to do everything they can. They've really got a few difficult circuits to start with. But they'll come to Spain, which is going to be a circuit that a lot of junior categories will have gone to. And Colapinto can definitely feel a little bit more at home next weekend. That's Verstappen complaining about the red wall soft tyre. Whether that's about temperature, I don't know. They're on scrub tyres. The C6 were a problem last weekend in Imola. They haven't seemed to be as much of a problem here in Monaco, but still a few teething problems as the teams try and get used to the car and tyre combination. We'll see how it plays out. Lando Norris does ramp it a little bit over the swimming pool chicane curb. You've got to be careful with that, because if you do lift the car up, you lose the grip, you understeer into the barrier, you find yourself in a big bit of trouble. Hamilton frustrated with the traffic. They've done an 18.494, whereas Charles Leclerc an 18.396. That's their teammate, so a tenth ahead is Charles Leclerc right now. Still improving absolutely rapidly. Verstappen, 1.5 tenths away effectively, is having a few problems here. Across the line. And another improvement. We are into the 10-second range. Still not close enough to reach the pole time that we saw last year, but a good improvement nonetheless. Hadjar and Lawson have been switching positions throughout the session, beating each other as they continue. Hadjar, of course, having 2 collisions with the barrier yesterday. Still seeming to have the confidence, but now as everybody starts to improve and improve and improve, the experience is coming through with Liam Lawson. Antonelli actually touched the wall also yesterday in FP2, but still managed to beat George Russell. That's a yellow in sector 14, but only temporary and immediately cleared. That is another yellow. 2 minutes on the clock. What's going on? Was that Bortoletto going slowly, or is it Piastri? We get a clear track once again. Red flag, however. Ooh. That's Lewis Hamilton, who's had a bit of an off as they've come up through the casino section? Is that where they're out on track right now? So that is the session done, and we will not get any practice starts with lots of cars out on the soft tyres. And of course the medium tyre being on for Fernando Alonso. We're not going to get any practice starts. This session will not resume, and Lewis Hamilton is going to be very frustrated with that one, ruining the front suspension a little bit there and taking off the front right tyre. So they go up through the hill, through the left and the right turns. Waiting for turn 4. Oh, a big loss of traction just as they had some load on the rear of the car. Very, 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 very confusing. That's a confusing one. Hamilton frustrated with himself for that one. And you do have to be careful. If you do collide with the wall in the wrong way, you can end up getting yourself a rear issue. And if you get yourself a rear issue, then you're going to get yourself a possible gearbox issue. That's what we saw for Lance Stroll, of course, of a gearbox issue yesterday after a collision with Charles Leclerc. So turn 3 that was there up the hill, unfortunately for Lewis Hamilton, just before the casino. And it brings an early end to the session. We will no longer get any practice starts. It will just be the time done. Charles Leclerc tops the times by almost 3/10 ahead of Max Verstappen with a 10.953, the only car to have done a 10-second lap time. It's then Lando Norris in P3, followed by Oscar Piastri, Lewis Hamilton, who crashes out in the final moments. It's Alex Albon in P6, Liam Lawson, Carlos Sainz, Tsunoda, Kimi Antonelli in P10. Then we've got George Russell following his teammate right behind. It's Fernando Alonso on the medium tire at the end of the session there in P12. Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Oliver Behrman to P16. They've got a grid penalty for qualifying as they try and get the car ready to go, but it's really not looking too great for the Brit. Hadjar in P17, it's Ocon in P18, it's 19th for Bortoleto, it's Colapinto, who is struggling here at Monaco, but still not having any issues with the wall, which is good to see, despite being 1.8 seconds away from Charles Leclerc. They've definitely made some good progress though. 1.8 seconds was better than it was earlier on for Colapinto. And they're probably, by the looks of things right now, going to be starting the race ahead of Oliver Behrman. So they might not be finishing last as long as they can try and hold them back. But we're probably going to see some strategy calls that we have never seen before. Some masterclasses, some wacky changes. We've got that mandatory two-stop strategy from Pirelli to look into for Sunday's race. But qualifying will be a little bit later on. 2:45 British time, 3:45 local time. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in a couple of hours for qualifying. Do not miss it. Please join us there. Have a good one. And bye-bye. Charles Leclerc looking good.